Allo, allo, it's Nia. Welcome to AI Creator World Podcast, the place where creators learn how to grow faster, build smarter, and turn artificial intelligence into real opportunity. Here, we explore powerful AI tools, content strategies, personal branding systems, and new ways to create income in the digital era. If you are building something online, you are in the right place. Let's begin.
Imagine finding out that your absolute favorite influencer, like the one whose morning routine you completely copy,
Right.
the one whose advice you actually trust, whose comments you reply to. Imagine finding out they don't actually have a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's a wild thought. But, I mean, you wouldn't be the first person to fall for it. And honestly, in 2026, you definitely won't be the last.
No, definitely not. And that's exactly why we're here today. We are opening up this leaked playbook that shows exactly how these digital illusions are engineered to essentially harvest human attention. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, we are looking at a really highly tactical piece of source material today. It's this 2026 guide from the AI Creator World team, and it's called Best Content Ideas for AI Influencers.
We're actually tired of
Right, very straightforward. It basically breaks down 20 specific, highly viral formats that these operators use for just rapid account growth.
Yeah.
But what actually makes this document so compelling isn't just a list of formats.
Right, it's the psychology.
Exactly. It's the underlying architecture of digital psychology that it reveals. It's fascinating.
And that is really the core of our mission today for you listening. Because we aren't just, reading off a list of social media tips for digital avatars. We are uncovering the exact structural blueprint that AI creators use to hack into your feed, to build these massive, fiercely loyal followings and scale up these entire digital empires from like a single laptop.
There's one laptop and an internet connection.
Right. So if you've ever found yourself endlessly scrolling through this highly curated influencer content, and you're just wondering why certain posts grab you by the collar while you instantly scroll past 50 others, well, this deep dive is going to reveal the invisible mechanics governing that exact behavior. We are pulling back the curtain to show you the machine.
And to understand that machine, we really first have to recognize a fundamental shift in how algorithms actually distribute content in 2026. Because a lot of people just assume that an AI influencer succeeds or fails based purely on aesthetics.
Like how photorealistic the avatar looks.
Exactly. Or, how perfectly rendered the lighting is on their face. But the guide completely shatters that assumption. It says most AI influencers actually fail because the human operator behind them just keeps posting the exact same format over and over.
Crossing their fingers.
Yeah, essentially crossing their fingers and just hoping the algorithm takes pity on them.
Which brings us to a rule in the guide that basically acts as the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about today. It says, a mediocre concept executed in a high-performing format will consistently beat a brilliant concept executed in a low-engagement format.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of traditional creators.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Because it essentially means that the platform's distribution architecture matters way more than the creator's raw art. Like format equals distribution.
It completely forces a shift from an artistic mindset to an engineering mindset.
Right.
Because we are always taught that content is king.
Right.
Right? The idea is everything.
Right.
But the algorithm doesn't comprehend the nuance of your brilliant idea. It only understands structural data. And the guide identifies that all viral formats share 4 very distinct structural traits.
Okay, lay them out for us.
So, first, you need a strong hook that lands in the very first 2 seconds. Second, a highly clear value proposition. Third, a satisfying resolution that explicitly earns a save or a share.
Not just a like, but a save or share.
Exactly. And fourth, a structural architecture that the algorithm already recognizes and has a historical distribution pattern for.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to fully grasp this algorithmic theory, we really need a better mental model. Think of it like it's like the algorithm is a bouncer at a highly exclusive club.
I love this analogy.
Right, so your concept, your brilliant idea, that's the personality of the guest trying to get in. But the format, that is the dress code.
Right.
The bouncer doesn't actually care how funny or smart or interesting the guest is. If they aren't wearing the right shoes, which represents the algorithmically recognized format, they are not getting in.
You're staying out in the cold.
Exactly. Nobody inside the club will ever hear their brilliant ideas. The format dictates access.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, they don't distribute content to reward creativity. They just don't.
Yeah.
They distribute content to retain attention because that's what sells ads.
Right. It's a business.
Exactly. And they measure a piece of content's ability to retain that attention through this really specific metric called early engagement velocity.
So it's essentially a highly compressed audition process. Like the second you hit post, a clock starts ticking.
Precisely. Early engagement velocity measures the speed and the density at which a post gets watched all the way through, saved, and shared in its very first hour of life.
Just 60 minutes.
Just 60 minutes. High velocity in that initial window signals the platform to push the content to a larger test audience. But if the velocity is low, the distribution simply stops dead in its tracks.
Wow.
And the single highest leverage upgrade an AI creator can make to artificially spike that velocity is just engineering a better hook.
And the source material provides a perfect mechanical breakdown of this, which I found fascinating. Say the creator generates a video about a morning routine. A novice operator will open the video with text reading, today I'm sharing my morning routine.
Right, which is just a context statement.
Exactly. It provides information but zero intrigue. But by simply swapping that opening text to the morning habit that changed everything in 30 days, the mechanics of the post shift entirely.
Because you've replaced a context statement with a retention trigger. The core video content hasn't changed at all. It's the exact same video.
Right.
But the algorithmic distribution will be exponentially higher because you successfully hacked the viewer's curiosity gap in those critical first 2 seconds. The algorithm demands retention above literally everything else.
So if the algorithm only cares about retaining attention past that 2-second mark, the creator's biggest obstacle is visually arresting the viewer before their thumb instinctively swipes up. I mean, how do you manufacture that kind of visual whiplash on demand?
Well, you exploit the unique, really asymmetrical advantages of generative AI to create compelling visual narratives. And this brings us to the highest reach category on short-form platforms, which the guide explicitly labels transformation and visual hooks. These rely heavily on formats like before and after sequences, outfit transitions, rapid location changes.
Yeah, those formats are everywhere. And the guide points out that they work because they trigger two distinct psychological responses in the viewer. First is the pattern interrupt. When the visual environment suddenly shifts, the human brain is just hardwired to notice the anomaly and pause to assess it.
It's biological.
It really is. And second is the completion compulsion. Once a before and after setup is established, we feel this innate psychological itch to see the final reveal. We literally can't help it. And the source notes that wash-through rates for these specific structural formats regularly exceed 70%.
Which is 70% is crazy.
Yeah.
Achieving a 70% watch-through rate in a feed that's entirely designed for micro-attention is staggering. And this is really where the AI creator deploys a superpower that human creators just simply cannot compete with.
Yeah, the logistics.
Right, think about the logistics of a human filming a location change video. They need to secure a city apartment, then physically travel down to a rooftop terrace, and then fly to a cafe in Paris.
And they need a travel budget, wardrobe changes, a lighting crew.
Days of production time.
But for an AI creator using a tool like Midjourney, that friction drops to literally zero. They can transition their digital avatar across all three of those locations in a 3-second video.
Just typing a prompt.
Exactly. And they achieve perfect visual consistency using parameters like character reference sheets. The operator just feeds the neural network the core facial architecture of their avatar, and the AI perfectly reconstructs that exact zygomatic bone structure and eye shape, whether the lighting is a neon Tokyo street or a sunny Parisian cafe.
It's absolute visual manipulation at scale.
Mm-hmm.
But, visual tricks and pattern interrupts, they only really generate transient attention. To actually build a sustainable brand over time, the guide dictates a shift into lifestyle and personality content.
Like what?
Formats like day-in-the-life reels and morning routines. These formats are specifically designed to answer the viewer's underlying question, which is, why should I follow this specific account?
Right.
And they also heavily utilize behind-the-scenes content, literally showing screen recordings of the Midjourney prompt generation or the Heijin animation process.
See, I have to push back on the logic there.
Okay, why?
If audiences are completely aware that the character is a digital fabrication, like if they're literally watching a screen recording of an operator typing code to synthesize the avatar's voice, why on earth do they care about its morning routine? Doesn't exposing the artificiality completely break the illusion?
What's fascinating here is that transparency is actually the ultimate conversion tool. It turns skeptics into advocates. Yeah, there is a massive demographic identified in the guide as the creator-curious audience. They aren't following the AI character because they've been tricked into thinking it's a real human. They know it's fake.
Okay.
They're following because they are deeply fascinated by the technical process of building the illusion itself.
Oh, so they want a backstage pass to the magic show. They
Exactly.
don't mind that it's a trick. They just want to see how the trapdoor works.
That's spot on. And we have to remember that whether the character is a carbon-based human or a silicon-based AI, the psychological rules of storytelling are immutable. Setup, conflict, resolution.
Always.
When an AI creator posts a narrative video, for example, the moment I stopped trying to be perfect and started being consistent, they are utilizing a classic narrative arc. Humans are biologically wired to share emotional stories, not just raw data.
Right, the feeling of it.
Yeah, the emotional resonance of the story works on our neurology, even if the face delivering it was generated by a GPU.
That makes total sense. So the story is the payload, and the AI is just the delivery mechanism. But, a viral story or a clever visual hook still just gives you a quick hit of dopamine. It gets eyes on the account, sure. But a passing glance doesn't build a digital empire. So how do these operators turn that fleeting initial attention into undeniable long-term authority?
Well, they execute a very deliberate pivot in their content strategy. They move away from the high-reach visual hooks and transition into dense educational content and strategic trend jacking.
Okay.
If the visual formats are designed to hack the reach algorithm, the educational formats are designed to capture the ultimate long-tail currency of 2026, which is the save.
The save. Not the like, not the share, not the comment. The source material is so adamant about this.
Because platforms are aggressively evolving into search engines. When a user saves a post, they are sending a highly valuable signal to the platform's algorithm that says, this piece of content is valuable reference material.
I want to come back to this.
Exactly. A high save rate effectively turns a post into an evergreen asset. It keeps it circulating in search results and algorithm recommendations for weeks, sometimes even months.
And AI creators optimize for this by deploying what the guide calls quick tips carousels. These are usually like 5 to 10 slides of highly actionable, text-heavy advice. And they also use mini tutorial reels, which are structured around really clear deliverables, like 3 steps to accomplish X in under 10 minutes.
And they pair that utility with a format called niche myth-busting. The creator identifies a widely accepted piece of conventional wisdom in their niche, pairs it with a bold claim, saying something like, this popular productivity advice is actively harming you, and then they provide a corrective framework.
Right.
This structurally positions the AI as an independent, authoritative thinker.
It creates cognitive dissonance. The viewer is scrolling, they see a closely held belief being challenged by an AI, and they are basically forced to stop. And because the claim is inherently polarizing, it generates massive comment velocity from people either vigorously defending the original myth or thanking the creator for the new framework.
Yeah, it forces engagement through friction. But establishing that kind of deep authority, that's a slow burn. To inject rapid bursts of growth into the account, these AI creators leverage a tactic called borrowed momentum through trend-based content.
This is the trend jacking segment of the playbook, using trending audio tracks or POV storytelling frameworks. But the guide emphasizes a pretty brutal constraint here. You have a strict 48-hour window after a trend peaks to actually capitalize on it before the algorithm saturates.
And to hit that 48-hour window, AI operators frequently utilize duet and reaction video formats.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the duet format requires virtually zero original production. The AI operator simply finds a video that a human creator has already pushed into virality, and they program their AI avatar to silently react to it, maybe, nodding or pointing to the text,
Just coasting on it.
literally scraping the algorithmic reach and pre-built audience of a human's viral video and funneling that momentum directly back to their artificial character.
Oh.
It is an astonishingly efficient exploit of the platform's features.
It's highly efficient. But the guide pairs this tactic with a very strict warning regarding portfolio balance. Trend-based content should never exceed 20 to 25% of a creator's overall content mix.
Oh, really? Why?
Because if an operator over-indexes on trend jacking, they might manufacture a short-term spike in reach, but they will severely damage their long-term retention.
Because the audience followed the trend, not the creator. So when the trend dies, the audience's attention just evaporates.
Precisely. The educational content must remain the anchor. The education is what converts a casual, trend-driven viewer into a brand loyalist who views the AI entity as a genuine expert in the field.
Okay, so the operator has hooked the audience with Midjourney's perfect visual pattern interrupts. They've established deep authority with high-save educational carousels, and they've borrowed momentum from human creators. But how do you sustain the community that forms around all this? And honestly, on a purely practical level, how does a solo operator actually manufacture all of these different complex formats without completely burning out?
That requires moving past content creation and into the architecture of community management and the workflow of a digital assembly line.
A factory.
Exactly. Let's examine the community aspect first. The guide highlights a pretty counterintuitive data point here. Community-focused formats actually earn significantly lower algorithmic reach than visual hooks.
But they still do them.
Yes, however, they generate 3 to 5 times higher follow conversion rates from the specific users who do happen to encounter them.
So you are basically trading raw algorithmic distribution for high-value relational depth.
Yes. Operators use formats like Q&A response videos, where the AI addresses a follower-specific question by name. They utilize comment-to-content series, escalating a frequent debate from the comment section into its own dedicated video. These formats provide tangible proof to the audience that the AI entity is listening and responsive to their existence.
And the guide highlights an absolute secret weapon for manufacturing this engagement, which is just the simple binary poll. A post asking morning person or night owl or hot take, agree or disagree.
Oh, those are everywhere.
Yeah, and it can generate 10 to 50 times more comments than a dense, highly researched informational post. By reducing the friction of engagement down to a simple A or B choice, you intrinsically motivate the viewer to declare a tribal position. We are hardwired to want to cast a vote.
We really are. And every single one of those low-friction votes is logged by the platform's algorithm as a positive engagement signal, which elevates the baseline health and distribution potential of the entire account. But to your earlier point about sustainability, how does one human operate this entire matrix?
Right. It sounds exhausting.
Well, they do it through a rigorous, mechanized batching workflow.
Right. They don't build a channel, they build a factory. The guide details this batching process, and it is just a masterclass in eliminating cognitive friction. So phase one is planning. An operator doesn't sit down and brainstorm daily. They use a single, highly engineered ChatGPT master prompt.
Just one prompt.
One prompt. They feed it their target audience's pain points, the strict requirement for 2-second hooks, and the desired binary poll structures. In 15 minutes, the LLM outputs 5 completely detailed content briefs. The entire ideation phase is instantly commoditized.
And then phase 2 is production. And the critical mechanism here is batching by the tool, not by the post. Because a human creator usually suffers from the friction of context switching.
Oh, absolutely.
They write a script, then they have to set up lights to film, then they have to shift into an editing mindset. It's exhausting.
The AI operator bypasses that entirely. They sit in the typing brain state all day. They generate all the Midjourney image assets for the entire week in one continuous session. Then they seamlessly move to a tool like HeyGen and synthesize all the avatar video and audio in another session. Then everything moves down the assembly line into CapCut for editing and Canva for design.
By isolating the production steps to specific software environments, the operator achieves massive scale. Phase 3 is scheduling. They dedicate 30 minutes in an API tool like Buffer or Later, and the entire week's content is autonomously queued.
Just set it and forget it.
Exactly. Furthermore, they maximize the yield of every asset by repurposing based on strict platform behaviors. The reel with the highest performing visual hook is pushed to TikTok, because TikTok's algorithm aggressively favors fast, non-follower discovery, while the highly searchable educational carousel is pinned to Pinterest.
So, what does this all mean? For you, the listener, whether you are actively trying to build an AI influencer empire, or you are just a professional trying to get through your weekly deliverables more effectively, this tool-specific batching method is a profound lesson in workflow optimization. It proves that scaling output isn't about working harder. It's about ruthlessly eliminating the friction of context switching.
This raises an important question, though. If you are mass-producing content at this massive scale, how do you know what to actually keep? What if you are efficiently batching the wrong formats?
Right.
That is where strict data validation comes in. The guide mandates a rule of 3. An operator must test a new structural format 3 distinct times before integrating it into their permanent workflow.
And they can't just look at vanity metrics. They have to measure the specific mechanical goal of that format.
Exactly. If they are testing an educational carousel, they strictly evaluate the save rate. If they're testing a transformation reel, they measure the watch-through percentage. If a format passes the validation phase, it earns a permanent spot in the weekly matrix.
So what does a finalized matrix look like?
A fully optimized account ecosystem typically balances out to 2 or 3 reels, designed purely for reach, 2 dense carousels designed to build authority, and 1 or 2 poll-based posts designed to extract community engagement.
It is a closed-loop ecosystem, perfectly balanced and relentlessly executed. So let's sort of synthesize the blueprint we've uncovered today. The algorithmic feed that dictates our digital lives is not a mystery, and it doesn't distribute content based on artistic merit. It is a machine that strictly rewards the retention of human attention.
Plain and simple.
Right. And by merging visual pattern interrupts, like Midjourney's seamless location hopping, with high-save educational nodes and low-friction binary polls that generate massive comment velocity, all managed through an industrialized batch production workflow. These digital operators aren't crossing their fingers for virality anymore. They are mathematically manufacturing algorithmic inevitability.
They have moved completely beyond content creation. They're building a resilient infrastructure that guarantees content distribution over time, entirely decoupled from human physical limitations.
And that reality leaves us with one final, deeply provocative thought for you to mull over. We've just analyzed how these AI influencers can flawlessly execute community-building formats. They host Q&As, they shout out followers by name, they validate their audience's opinions through polls, they are programmed to make their viewers feel genuinely seen and continuously valued.
Yeah.
Now, a human creator inevitably gets tired. They experience burnout. They need to log off and step away from their DMs to protect their mental health.
As they should.
Absolutely. But an AI character never sleeps. It never experiences emotional exhaustion. And it can systematically deliver a perfectly responsive, empathetic community experience to millions of people simultaneously. So if an AI can provide a more reliable, permanently available connection, will the audiences of the future actually prefer parasocial relationships with AI over humans simply because the machine is a more dependable friend?
It's a heavy question.
It really is. Think about the mechanics of that the next time you're lying in bed, endlessly scrolling, and you find yourself stopping to watch a perfectly lit morning routine from someone who doesn't actually exist. The operator behind the curtain knows exactly how your attention works. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and as always, stay insanely curious.
Thank you for listening to AI Creator World Podcast. If you found this episode valuable, make sure to follow the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, and share this episode with another creator who is building their future online. For deeper guides, AI tools, and step-by-step growth strategies, visit our website at aicreatorworld.net. And remember, in the age of artificial intelligence, creators who learn faster will lead the future. See you in the next episode. Bye!